So what the fuck is going on? Seems honestly, it seems like the fucking world is just losing their shit again.
Because the world is losing their shit once again. Between people on the right putting out memes of how Trump is going to be elected and reinstate world peace as
Who-
if that's, a part of reality.
Yeah, yeah. It's just
Um,
it's one
I just
magic.
want to point out in 2017, 38 wars started across the country or across the world, rather. He is not returning us to world peace. There was no world peace.
Well, it's this idea that at this point it seems like between the MAGAs and the white nationalists and the the Christian nationalists, it seems like they have deified him at this point. So
It's
he
beyond deifying. I mean, there's a bit of creating him a deity. However, they need to understand, and they're not going to. And I'm saying this, and I know it's like talking to a wall because I do it every day in groups, but it's not going to come true no matter how many times you say it or repeat it. It doesn't make it true.
right.
Um, and there is a disconnect. And I would say in the last month, I haven't really seen it on the left. Um, but there are some very outspoken people on the right
Yeah.
who want to push this idea that is not rooted in reality. I'm sorry.
Well, it seems like there's a lot of things going on, obviously. So you have um, the presidential race coming up, right? So you currently have left in the primary for the Republicans, you got Trump and Haley. And
Yes.
I don't think anyone thinks that Haley's going to pull it out. Um, it would be good to see her give him a good run. I think that makes whoever the Republican is a better candidate. However, with that being said, again, it's not. We've gotten to a point in politics where it is not about ideas. It's not
Uh,
about.
I was just about to say the one thing that I am not seeing uh, on the right. I say that because there are no candidates on the left. Um, Granted, they need candidates on the left to
We're just
come
not
out.
hearing from them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You
but
had.
there is no platform on the right. There's no platform. The GOP Senate has not passed anything in over a year.
Mm, yeah. I mean, that's again. This is and to that point, part of the thing that we're seeing again is and I think you see it a lot more on social media, especially since 2020. But this is something that's been going on probably for 10, 15 years, if not longer. There is a resurgence in this idea of a civil war. Twofold. You've always seen certain states saying that they wanted to secede from the nation. Yeah, Texas being
Yes,
one.
particularly Texas, who I was just sorry. Hold on a second. Let me adjust my microphone because it's tickling my mustache. I keep moving. I'm like, oh, it keeps tickling. No, but in Texas, I was just discussing this. Um, and Texas is always talking about seceding from the Union, how Texas could do it. They used to be their own country. They can take care of their own. No, you can't. If you seceded from the Union, I'm telling you right now, Mexico's coming in the next, 5 hours.
No, I
They're
would.
going to take over. And there's nothing they're going to be able to do about it.
Yeah.
They're going to turn Texas into northern Mexico,
Oh, it'll be the return of
which
the Alamo.
I'm really not that, worried about, because most Mexicans are super cool. But they're going to fill Texas with it's basically going to turn it into Cabo North,
Yeah.
and it's going to be filled with tourism and cheap manufacturing.
Yeah. Yeah. But even if you take away that idea, okay, even if you take away the idea of secession, which is just ridiculous, okay, but if that's what they honestly wanted to do as a state, you know what? Fine, whatever. I don't care. You know what I mean? But don't come crying when you need the United States. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
if you're going to secede, you're on your own. That's it. See ya. Adios,
Yeah,
motherfucker.
I get a lot of we have, the military equipment to protect ourselves. No, you
No, you
don't,
don't.
because that's going to get pulled up to Tulsa,
Yeah.
and over to Shreveport. They're going to be parked across the rivers as a deterrence, and yeah, you'll have them as in you'll be able to see them across the rivers, the Red River.
Yeah, but you can't. You're not going to
can't
have the
have 'em.
keys. You don't have the keys. You know what I mean? But I guess what I'm getting at, and what just kind of like, especially in this last week or so, last 2 weeks, has kind of made my head fucking explode, is that again, and I've heard this call for a long time, so I'm not saying that this
Yes.
is new, but this call for civil war. And
Correct.
my argument on this is, again, I'm not trying to place blame on one side or the other, but it is definitely a much louder call on the right than it is on the left. In fact,
Correct.
everything that I'm seeing, and not to say that there aren't lefties that are calling for, civil war as well. I'm sure there are. But really what I see more than anything is right-wing MAGA Christian nationalists calling for this idea of civil war, and each of them for their own reasons. But what sparked it this time is the southern border, and that seems to be sparking it a lot.
Correct.
So you're getting a lot of these people who are honestly, they're just looking for a reason for some sort of civil war that they can. I don't know. I guess they have some sort of hero fantasy that they're trying to play out, or some sort of LARPer kind of cosplay situation.
Cosplay, yeah.
And that's really all it is at this point. Is it seems like these guys, and they call themselves preppers, they call themselves this, they call it whether they're in a militia or not.
The best is when they refer to themselves as true patriots.
Right.
A true patriot is not wanting to kill his fellow citizen.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah. But the thing of it is it would be laughable if it weren't so scary. And what I mean by that is that they really are in this kind of cosplay mentality. And I say that because there's no way. Oh, here we go. Oh, there you go. It didn't pick up.
Line, baby.
This fantasy of playing dress up and running around with, whether it's camo or whether it's, all in tactical black wearing, Kevlar. This is no different. And this is what they don't understand. They think that they're being tough. They think that they're being patriots. They think that all these different things that they think, right? And they think it's going to work out for them. But let's start with reality. And the reality is, essentially, they are nothing more than a furry convention.
Yes.
Without a building to gather in. There's no difference between dressing up as a furry or dressing up as a superhero or a comic book hero and dressing up like some sort of paramilitary tough ass that you are not. Okay?
Here comes SEAL Team Mix 6.
Yeah. The Gravy Seals. And I guess my thing is with this is that they're not paying attention to what the reality actually is. Okay, they do have this delusion that specifically on the left or on the right that they have all the guns, they're going to win, and there's not going to be any circumstances that they're going to have to face or any reality that they're going to have to face that would be negative. And the fact of the matter is, if you go to that point, and we've seen it with people that have been arrested for January 6th, okay? They were all on board in the moment. But when the butcher bill came due and they had to, stand in front of a judge and hear that they were going away for X amount of months or years, suddenly the fucking tune changed quite a bit.
Yes. Quite a bit.
So that's the first part, is they're not looking at what the reality is. Now, let's take away any legal repercussions, okay? So let's remove the idea that they're going to have to go to jail, that they're going to stand trial, they're going to, have their life ruined from that. Let's just look at it from the point of view of the reality. And I know a lot of soldiers that saw a lot of combat. I've spent a lot of time with guys that were in the military. I had a friend of mine, good friend of mine, who was a sniper.
Yes.
And, several other guys that I when we were in motorcycle classes together, we had, and I don't know if you were there still when a lot of these guys came in, but just in the motorcycle classes, we had 3 or 4 vets that were fresh from Afghanistan. And I got to talk with them, and they would have good days and bad days with their PTSD, and specifically the guy that was the sniper. But I got to hear some of the realities of what they dealt with and what they were dealing with from those experiences. And that's the thing is, all right, look, it's great if you think that you're going to have some sort of patriotic march forward, and you think, okay, well, things might get tough, you know what I mean? But you recognize this isn't the first Civil War. We're not on horseback anymore. We're not, camping in fields and freezing our asses off. You know what I mean? Like, none of that is going to be the reality in today, in terms of today, if a Civil War took place. But here's a fucking reality. You're going to have to pull the trigger and maybe take a fellow American's life. All right. Are you really prepared to do that because you don't like how Joe Biden's handling the border situation? Are you really going to do that because you're under the delusion that Trump presidency is going to, just by him being president, it's going to make the world a better, happier, safer, more prosperous place with no war and nothing but wages going up? None of that is a reality. You know what I mean?
You know what I would like to see? I would like to see a TV show, a precursor to the Civil War, where a group of individuals who want to promote the idea of a civil war or state seceding from the Union makes their way north during the winter. A group of guys from Texas, like, this is probably what you're going to face if you go to, have a war with your.
So you're saying family. Almost turn it into a reality show.
Turn it into a reality show, but before it actually starts, have like 20 of the most outspoken people and be like, we're going to give you 6 months. We're going to start in November, and you're going to march north on foot or on ATV. And see how long you last.
Even on an ATV or a side-by-side, they're not going to make it out of the fucking state of Texas.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, again, these are the realities.
It's cute that they think that they can take over a country, but these are I live in Texas. I know what the weather is like. And I know what happens when it gets a little bit cold. Just a little bit. They might get a dusting of snow and everything shuts down
Yeah.
because they're not prepared for a dusting.
Well, let's.
Like I watched the entire DFW area shut down because a quarter of an inch of snow fell
Mhm.
for about 15 to 20 minutes. And it it was like the apocalypse. People were rushing into stores, sliding all over the place, complaining about their energy, which could get shut off because their electrical grid for the last 10 years is not prepared for this. They are not prepared for this. And if they think that they're going to cross into the north in the middle of winter, I would love to watch it on TV.
Yeah.
Grab some popcorn and be like, you stupid mutts.
So I think the comic who did the joke, I think it was Neil Brennan, if memory serves me right, but he was talking about this, this idea of civil war and all these guys, like I think it was under the guise of the Second Amendment is how the joke starts.
Mhm.
And he's talking about how these guys are like, well, it says in there, that, Second Amendment and we can go up against our government and take back our government. Yeah. Okay. Well, you know what? In the 1700s, that was a great idea for
Perhaps
a number
doable.
and doable, even with just muskets. It was doable. You know what I mean? Like you could potentially do that. However, and his point, I thought was pretty funny joke. He says, what we should do is get like 12 of these guys once a year to go up against, I don't know, 2 guys from the military, right? He's like, and televise it, no holds barred. You're going up against the military. It's only 2 guys from the military. You got 12 guys on your side, right? So odds are absolutely in your favor, right? So he goes, it's like, let's interview this guy, right? He goes, well, what'd you bring for today? He's like, I got my AR-15, I've got a 30 clip round, and blah, blah, blah. And he goes through this whole thing about talking about his gun and his sight and all this stuff. And he goes, now let's go talk to the guys over in, from the military. And what do you got? Well, we've got a drone with 14 Hellfire missiles on it, and I've got them in my sight. Hey, look, you can see right here on the screen, they're all gathered into this little bunch here. All right, have we started? Am I supposed to? Can I go now?
Looks like one of them farted. I can tell. The thermal cam.
He goes, all right, well, I don't know how fair this is. And he pushes the button. He's like, yeah, they're all gone now. So the point is you cannot have the
one on the left is eating, I think, French fries.
Yeah, like they can shoot literally with a drone. They can shoot a car tire out from 27 miles, but you got, your arsenal of ARs and AKs and all your handguns and you think you've got a chance. That's just ridiculous. And these are the same people who talk about how great the military is, how we've got the biggest military in the entire world, and we're the most powerful nation in the world. That's who you're going to go up against because you don't like Democrats, because you don't like liberal agenda, instead of having politicians who can come up with better ideas. And that's what we're not seeing.
I was reading a story on the war in the Ukraine, and one of the tactics the Ukrainians would do is they would get a teenager, a young guy, no military experience, and what he did have was a little drone, and they would take this drone and outfit it with just random looking shit, just so that it looked scary. And they would send it up and find a random Russian soldier, perhaps in a group or by himself, and they would fly it over them. And they would wait, get it close enough where the Russian can see them, see the drone.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't do anything because there's no weapons on the drone. It's just cardboard and tinfoil, and it looks weird. And they would freak out and run back to their base to say, "Hey, we're we're seeing these things in the air. I think they've got us." And all they wanted was the soldier to run back to where the others are gathered. That's
Mm-hmm.
all they wanted.
Yeah, so that
So
they
they
could
knew where to send in the missile.
exactly. And again, it's silly things like that like all right, great. Let's say you're a part of a militia. Let's say you're part of a really well equipped, uh, very well trained militia. What do you got? What do you got? Honestly, you know what I mean? Because that's the reality is that the only way. Now, mind you, that's not to say that people aren't creative. I mean, the fact of the matter is when it came to the Revolutionary War, the reason why the United States won is because of using guerrilla, tactics and being creative and finding way and the fact that they also had guys that they were pulling off of farms that and the like that were very very comfortable hunting and knew how to camouflage themselves, knew how to crawl up into a tree. Yeah, they knew the land. They knew how to crawl up into a tree and be patient. A lot of different things that they did, and that may play to the insurgencies, the militias, in a positive way for a small period of time. But the fact of the matter is that the only way that they're going to have any type of ground game, any type of control, make any difference is they would have to be so well organized and they would have to strike multiple areas at the exact same time to create chaos and confusion as to where it was coming from and who it was coming from. So the only point that they're going to get on the board is that it's going to be a short period of time, multiple random or seemingly random targets that they can take or win by surprise. And the thing of it is like, again, you have to think about the reality of this. Unfortunately, like in a million years, did you ever think as we were growing up that we would be having a conversation about the potential reality of a civil war in the United States in our lifetime? It's fucking ridiculous. You know what I mean? And I think that that's kind of the mentality of a lot of people. There's so much shit coming our way on a daily basis that people don't know which way to turn. You know what I mean? So like if you're the family, let's say you're a family of four, you're a husband, a wife, and you got two kids, okay? One boy, one girl, right? Both of you are working. Both of you are trying to find ways to take care of the kids, make sure there's groceries in the house, make sure that the house is repaired, make sure that all the maintenance is done, make sure that the kids get to their activities, their sporting events, their art classes, their dance classes, whatever the fuck the kids are into. And yet you're still absorbing all this information from the outside, whether it's through your social media, whether it's through, conversations at work, whether it's water cooler, whether it's, at church, you're hearing this, whatever the case may be. And you're in, and I think that this is the problem with people is because a lot of things are popping up and people are popping off about a lot of little things. So I'm seeing a lot of people online talking about Civil War. I'm seeing a lot of people online talking about their Christianity. I'm seeing a lot of people online talking about abortion and how they're going to completely shut it down, right? And
I'm also reminded, I used to work in a school, and as an individual in the school, you hear a lot of teenagers talk, um, their viewpoints of the world around them.
which are parroted
And
usually from the parents, but
yes, however, I remember probably two teenagers that were very uh, conservative in their viewpoints, whereas everybody else was very, this isn't going to happen.
Right.
One of the students I overheard telling his teacher, because the teacher was actually discussing a second civil war, the kid's parents were very, let's overthrow the government. And the kid was talking about how his father would discuss this type of stuff openly, open dissent. And the kid felt so strongly enough that he went and he hid his father's weaponry.
Really?
Yeah.
Good for the kid.
And it had been, yeah, I think he said it had been a couple of weeks and his father still couldn't find anything. But his viewpoint was, I hear what you're saying. I don't agree. And I'm smarter than you. Yeah, granted, he's just a teenager.
But at least he had.
I'm smarter than you.
Yeah, he had sense.
I took your stuff. I hid it. And there are he's like, there are, where it's located, I wrote down in the computer, your computer that you cannot now access because you're not good with technology.
See, that's actually interesting to me. That gives me a little bit of hope. You know what I mean? Because in I think it was it 2022? I'm not sure. Anyways, no, I think it was actually before that. No, it was in August of 2022. There was a poll that said 43% of Americans believe it's likely civil war will break out within the next 10 years. So that's not right and left. I mean, that's not just right. It's right and left. So there's a very large...
Well, there's a difference, though, between wanting it and thinking this really could happen. Because I don't want a civil war. Do I think it's going to happen? I kind of do. Because there's so much vitriol on one side.
Yeah, so I've been reading this book.
Have you heard someone on the left, a progressive, wanting a civil war?
No, I've never, and that's kind of my point. Is like whether in personal conversations or whether just in social media, that has never been the case that I've come across. Not again, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It very well could exist,
but it's the idea of what you hear publicly. I am not hearing it on the left.
No, I usually hear the response from the left. And the left's response kind of goes into, either just mocking the idea, like you're an absolute idiot, you Trumper, this, like very, very ad hominem attacks to the person who's calling for it. However, the other side of that is I see a lot of Democrats and a lot of liberals, I should say, that respond by going, you know what? We're tired of hearing you say this. You think you're going to win. Bring it. We're ready. Let's go. Right? And
I would fit underneath that category, apparently. The more and more time has gone on, I'm getting to the point personally where I'm like, fine.
Yeah, I'm tired of the dance. You know what I mean? It's like two guys going to fight, and all they're doing is talking and circling, and they've got their hands up like they're going to fight, but they're not. Just get to it. If you're going to do it, get to it. Enough of the dancing. Let's go.
If you're going to spend all the time talking the talk, let's see you walk the walk. Let's see how long.
And that's unfortunate because again, I know you and I are of the opinion that we do. Under any circumstance, I would not want to see that. But here's the thing: is I don't want to see that because not only do I don't want to see innocent people get hurt.
And that's exactly what would happen.
And that's exactly what would happen. You know what I mean? Because we'll get to that in a second. But not only do I not want to see people get hurt, especially innocent people, okay? I don't want to see the economy destroyed. I don't want to see transport and distribution destroyed, because that's what's going to happen. So the reason why this conversation came up is because the issue at the border, and now there's like, I don't even know if it's happening still, but there was talk that like 7,000 truckers were going to go down to the border with their semis, and they were going to, rally. And
with that,
I don't know if they know this or not, but you can crawl under a semi.
Well, it's not just that. They're calling for 7,000 semis to do what? I'm not exactly sure.
I have no idea, except
park
fuck
it
up
in the river.
Yeah, so you got 7,000 semis that are not doing their job of distributing goods that we need in this country.
And on top of it, it's not 7,000. They wanted 7,000. They got about 600.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you knew that.
No, yeah. I didn't even know if it had happened.
Very small turnout. Somebody set up an account. They raised $138,000 to pay for gas for all these semis,
and that just took care of 3.
Well, it's even better than that, because the organization, the person, whatever that set that up, it's not talking. They don't know where the money went. So apparently, somebody might have milked all of these quote unquote patriots that are giving money to this. They're not speaking. The person who set this up or organization is not talking.
Now, are they not talking, or are they like nowhere to be found?
The word in the story was they're nowhere to be found.
Sounds to me like they took $138,000 and hit the road.
Yes.
See,
because there are people who are like, "Oh, this is awesome! Click, 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 click. I'm going to donate."
Isn't that the same thing? Isn't that the same thing that happened though with Bannon when he was doing the we're going to finish the wall or whatever it was?
He bought a boat,
and he bought a boat instead, or he was on I don't know what, but he didn't. He clearly was not using the money. And did he ever get in trouble for that? Do you know? I know he got called out for it, but I don't know if he ended up
called out on it. He didn't go to. He got called before the Senate committee and did not show up. I think he spent like 30 days in jail.
Okay,
which it should be higher.
Yeah, it should be a lot higher.
And of course,
when you defraud
you also
people,
have the right who are like, "Oh, Hunter Biden didn't show up, and he defied." No, he showed up.
Yeah, he just didn't show up the way you wanted.
Yeah, he wanted a public hearing, and the GOP wanted it private.
I don't know why any of those would be like. There's no security issues there, so why wouldn't it be public? You know what I mean? Like if you can tell me,
because they wouldn't be able to control the narrative.
Well, that's public. It. Yeah, that's my point. Is like if you're going to be, as far as like a Senate committee investigating, and there's no like issue as far as like the content of what it is that you're investigating being public for national security reasons. So like even when they did the UFO thing, right? Okay.
Yep.
You know what? Maybe some of the things that would have gotten brought up would have been not so good for national security in a public forum. I totally get that. And that's on fucking UFOs. That's on UAPs. That's on little green men that everyone giggles about. But at least it made sense, because it was a situation where you go, well, wait a minute. First off, you could make the argument that the reason that they couldn't talk about that is because those unidentified objects might be military, might be experimental, might be, dark ops, or whatever the fuck. It might have something to do with national security. Okay, I can believe that. But now we're talking Hunter Biden, who is not an elected official, okay?
Correct.
Has nothing to do with politics aside from his dad being the president. Where you had Bannon, who was part of the Trump administration,
Correct.
and then after he was let go, pulled this stunt in an effort to supposedly, from what I understand, kind of butter his way back into Trump's world.
I have a question for you.
Mhm.
How much money was, let's say it was all true, the Hunter Biden thing. How much money would have ended up in the pocket of Hunter and Joseph Biden? How much money was it?
I don't even know at this point. Supposedly millions.
Well, I think it was between 4 and 7 million.
Something like that. That sounds
So
right.
let's just, for the sake of argument, say it was 17 million, just to make it some ridiculous amount.
Make it 50 million. It doesn't matter.
We could make it 50 million even. Now, how much money was an individual in Trump's immediate governance in the White House by the name of Jared Kushner? How much money did he receive from the Crown Prince
What was
Saudi
that?
Arabia?
2 billion, wasn't it?
2 billion.
2 billion.
2
yeah.
billion. To a guy that has never, ever been an investor, who started an investment company while in the White House and was given $2 billion.
But that's my point. Is like all of these different things, and this gets to the idea that I when I was talking to you off mic, and I said the tone of the show has, in my mind, changed, because I really do believe that no one knows what to believe anymore. I don't know what to believe anymore, and I'm pretty active as far as like reading the news and not just news I'm comfortable reading opposing opinions. I'm pretty adept at that and pretty deep. I go deep. Let's just put it that way. I go deep into the paint. Right? Now, with that being said, I'm fortunate enough because I have the ability and the time to try to read what the news stories are, find opposing views, and try to figure out what the story actually is, not the narratives that are being driven by whatever source. Most people don't have that kind of time. And most people if I'm sitting here going, what the fuck has happened in the world that we're here? I got to imagine that there's at least some moms and dads out there that feel the same way. I got to imagine that there's some 20-somethings that are going, is this really what's going, this is the world I'm supposed to live in? You know what I mean? Like, how can you untangle that? Because it's become this, well, yeah, sure, you can say that about my guy, but your guy did this.
Whataboutism.
The whataboutism has gone through the roof. All right. Now, if Hunter,
by the way, have you seen the Roger Stone video where he's talking about killing a congressman? I think it was, or it was a senator. I don't remember
it was kind of
target
a while ago, wasn't it?
Not that long ago.
Like while Biden was in office or while Trump was in office?
While Biden is in office.
Oh, that recently. No, I don't think I've seen that one. I've seen him say some crazy shit, but I can only watch him for so long because he's got such a weird shaped head. It's like a thumb. Have you ever noticed
glasses.
that?
Stupid glasses.
And he's dressed like
he's like a horrible Batman villain.
No, it's not even as good as a Batman villain. It's like a Dick Tracy villain.
Well, I'm talking Batman from the 60s.
I'm talking Dick Tracy from the 20s. He's got his zoot suit on. He's ready to go.
And you've seen the video from election night in 2020 where Roger Stone is calling the shots, saying what they should do, which is what they did. You didn't see that?
I don't think I saw the video, but I'm aware of it.
Yeah, the video is just like, holy shit. he's saying exactly what they did and what they should do to cause a bunch of trouble.
But see, again,
And also, there's the Russian video where the some I don't remember if it's a TV commentator or someone directly involved with the Russian government, but they said they were laughing about the border stuff in Texas and was saying this is the type of thing that a country should try to mess up for an enemy like the United States to get it exaggerated and blow this whole thing up. This is how you weaken an enemy.
well, yeah, I mean, the Russian propaganda arm has always said you destroy the United States from within. You don't do
Yes.
it on the military field. You're never going to win a military battle, but you can weaken them by getting them to fight against
Which-
themselves.
It's kind of the thing because I've long said Russia does not have the kind of military that they proclaim to have.
Which we've
And-
seen now.
Yeah, we've now seen with Ukraine. But
Yeah. So I guess to get back to my point, which was hopefully this podcast, not just this one in particular, but all the ones going forward, is an opportunity for, people who are just trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. How did we get here? You know what I mean? And again, I'm not picking sides. But there's some actual truths that we have to deal with. And the actual truth when it comes to civil war is that the side that is calling for it and has been calling for it for the longest time is on the right. That's the Republicans. And I don't know, like, to me, again, it goes against everything that you think they should be for. By the very nature of being a conservative, they talk about life is precious. That's their argument on abortion. But what do you want to do? You want to start a civil war. So apparently life's not too precious after it's come out of the womb.
Yeah.
So, like,
they're not pro-life, they're pro-birth.
they're pro-birth.
And the last 2 weeks, it's been building, but more so over the last 2, maybe 3 weeks, is their vitriol that they started to spit at, people like Taylor Swift and the Swifties.
Yeah, they're just going
Like,
for
That
culture.
is so funny. Like,
It's
really?
ridiculous. It's ridiculous. If Taylor Swift has your political panties in that kind of a bunch, Jesus Christ. What the
no. There she is again at a football game.
Yeah, and now
Oh,
so A, she can't enjoy football. B, she can't date a football player. And what's the conspiracy now? They're saying
she's secretly gay.
is that one of them now?
That's one of them. Yeah.
Is she secretly gay and she's just using this football player to make her look good because she just came off a $370 million concert run where
Yes.
that made her a billionaire? Like that put her over the top and she became a billionaire working her ass off doing a concert in some cities.
Well,
In some cities where she performed, it actually the revenue from people coming into town and spending money at the restaurants and at the hotels and at the local stores basically saved their economy at least for 6 months to a year. I mean, I don't even
there was
like you couldn't
just a video, and I am not a fan of Disturbed. Like I used to be, then I got a little tired of them. Sorry, David Draymond. But he brought up there was a girl on stage, a young teenage girl with her family, and she had mentioned that she loves Taylor Swift, and the audience started to boo. And David Draymond turned to the audience and admonished them, and was like, "Don't you boo her? Don't you boo Taylor Swift? She is a songwriter. She sings the songs that she writes. She is not your typical pop star
No.
who buys songs. She's a singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
That is talent. You do not boo Taylor Swift here."
See, that's the thing is that I think in artistic communities, okay, so like I just watched interview with Slash, right? And
Mhm.
he was being asked about his working relationship with Michael Jackson, right? And I don't remember the details of it, but basically he's like, I didn't know him really that much personally. Professionally, I knew him. I worked with him very, very limited. But he goes, I don't know that I would have wanted to be friends with him. And he said the reason being, he goes, during this time, he goes, Guns N' Roses was like the number one, arena touring band. And he goes, and I knew what kind of craziness we were dealing with. He goes, now you got somebody who's like Michael, who is ridiculously talented. He's like, I can't say enough about his talent. He goes, like his music or don't like his music, you can't deny his talent. And it's the same thing with Taylor Swift. Now, to be perfectly honest with you, aside from, what is it, Shake It Off, I wouldn't know a Taylor Swift song if it bit me in the ass.
I would not know any song. It's just not my genre.
It's just not my genre. And
but
it has.
I recognize the talent involved.
You can't. There's no way you can look at what she's accomplished, not only as a musician, as an artist, but also as a businesswoman.
Yes.
And not appreciate.
Well, the anger is that she single-handedly got like 40,000 new voters registered. And she is a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
She's progressive. And has been very vocal in the past about Trump. That is where this vitriol is coming from.
Right, but if I'm not mistaken,
she's a threat.
In the last election, she had sponsored some like state or local candidate and didn't win. Now, I'm not saying that that's her fault, but I'm saying how big of a threat is she? If she, and okay, so again, it gets down to going back to explaining in a simple way to the people who don't have time, but are curious or scared or whatever when it comes to like this kind of political zit of civil war.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people go, well, it'll never happen because, this isn't a north-south thing, right? A lot of people think that cooler minds will prevail. Cooler heads will prevail. A lot of people don't. A lot of people think, there's guys like locked and loaded, yeehaw, can't wait. Let's go, motherfucker.
Yeah.
And those are the ones I worry about the most because those are typically decent people. You know what I mean? They may not be very educated. They may not understand the policies. They may not understand, and they're just parroting what they're hearing because they don't have a solid education when it comes to civics and politics and government and how everything works together. So I always worry about the yeehaw motherfucker guys more than anything else because I feel bad for them because they're going to be the ones that run out ahead and first because they're the ones that are going to try to show how patriotic, how good, how good they are with a gun, how fearless they are, all those different things. And they're the ones that are going to be just mowed down right and left. So getting to the idea of how do we kind of explain how we have gotten here to people that don't have more than an hour or two to listen to a podcast. The simple answer, I think, is when you are a group that has power and you start to feel like you're losing your power. So I'm going to use, in this instance, though there's many examples of this, but in this particular example, white, nuclear family, Christian Republicans. They feel like they're losing their grasp on power. And that's what fuels, that's the tinder. That's what starts the fire, is the feeling of loss of importance or power, or this idea that my voice no longer carries as much weight. Now you're seeing that with the Republican Party.
Why should a person who's brown or different skin colored have a voice that's more important than mine?
And that's kind of their view.
Yeah.
And I think that when you think about it in those terms, you can feel sorry for them. You can feel bad for them in this sense. They don't understand that varying degrees of opinions and cultures and views will typically boil down to what's best for everyone. Okay? Now, the reason why they're upset, it seems, is because they are just not making the rules anymore. Okay? You're seeing voting not necessarily going their way all the time. Yes. If not for the Electoral College, I don't know that they would have won a presidential election in the last 30 years.
Probably not.
I think they're afraid of the other. And that's really what it always seems to boil down to. They want to be able to tell you how to live your life because that's how they think lives should be lived. So, as an example, when Roe v. Wade was overturned, I got into a quite a dust up online and got attacked a lot because I simply said, "Look, I've got two views on this. 2-3 views on this. One, I don't think it's anyone's business what any woman does with her body." And I know that's a horrible thing to say, but I don't think that women are property. And I don't think that a government official has a better understanding of what a woman's medical needs are than her doctor. I don't think a government official should be able to make those decisions for anyone. Okay? There's no equivalent for men. Right? Well, they want to be able to tell you, no, that's not the way it is, and you're going to have that baby because you know what? You were stupid enough to have sex. Yeah, I know you went out to the bar just thinking you were going to have a good time. Well, you know what? You had a great time, didn't you? You ended up in the back seat of some stranger's car. You ended up getting pregnant. Now you don't have that guy's phone number, and you're going to be a single mother. And guess what? That's the way life's going to be. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And that poor woman is going, I don't even have boots. The fuck are you talking about? Pull myself up by my bootstraps.
Yep.
But by the same token, they don't want to put money into any programs that would support that child and support that mother so she can keep that child. So they want to tell you what to do, but they don't want any responsibility after they've told you that. Okay? You see that with a number of things. So there's a border bill that's been negotiated between Republicans and Democrats. And in the House, that's already being, before the ink is even dry, before they've finished the wording, they're already being told the House is going to shut it down and say no. So you then dig a little deeper and you find out, well, the reason is because Trump has been pissing in every Republican's ear saying, don't pass that bill because that'll be a win for Biden, and I don't want him to have a win. You keep that bill until I get elected. But he's under the assumption that he is going to get elected. And I don't know that that's necessarily a fact anymore. I think he's going to be the candidate, but I don't know that he's going to get elected.
Let me ask you something. With all of this,
let me put a pin in that real quick.
Go ahead.
If he does get elected, okay, that's a whole different set of issues. But if he doesn't get elected, that's where I see like that. No matter how much surveillance and credibility the election has, if Biden is the candidate and Trump is the candidate and Biden wins again, that's going to be the match that lights the fire of civil war, I think.
I could totally see that.
And the shame of it is that no matter which way that election goes, that's going to be a tinderbox. How big of a tinderbox? That's to be determined. But in my view, if Trump doesn't win, it's going to be all this, election bullshit again, all this fraud again. They're going to claim, and then they're going to start breaking out their guns and marching down the streets, and that's when the shit's going to really, really hit the fan. Now, how far, how hard, I don't know. But on the other side of that, if Trump becomes president again, I don't have enough faith in the liberals, especially the far left, to not do the same fucking thing. So I'm seeing this as almost it's a no-win situation over a goddamn presidential election. So what do we do? You know what I mean? What do you do? Again, going back to the family of four, what do you do? What do you do? Because even if you're political, right or left, or you're not political at all, like you literally don't have time in your day for politics, it's going to affect you. It's going to affect your kids. It's going to affect the country. It's going to affect the supply chain again. It's going to create inflation again. It's going to do all the fucking bullshit that happened during COVID. And quite frankly, you could almost look to COVID as a template for what the fallout would be financially, supply chain, inflation.
Yep.
Getting into fistfights over toilet paper again. Okay? So that's what we got to look forward to under the best of circumstances.
I saw a fist fight break out between a bunch of people over TVs on a Black Friday sale years ago, and it was nothing compared to the fight that I've seen in Walmart's over toilet paper at that time.
I know.
It's insane.
I saw two women, like middle age, maybe a little bit on the higher side of middle age, but I saw these two women just fucking trying to gouge each other's eyeballs out over a 4-pack of fucking toilet paper.
Yep.
So is that what all these people who are going Civil War, let's have a civil war. Is
Joke's
that
on you,
honestly?
bitch, I got a bidet.
But I mean, honestly, is that what we're after? Like, the people who are screaming civil war and encouraging it, are you really thinking about all of the consequences of that?
No, they're not.
I don't think
they're expecting that they're going to landslide win.
All right. So in your eyes, so here's what I see. And I don't mean to pick on preppers here because, I mean, if that's your thing.
There's different levels of preppers.
There is. Okay. But I'm talking the more extreme ones because it seems like the more extreme ones that are buying the, Jim Baker buckets of food, you know what I mean? I think that those guys, they're a whole different level. Those people are a whole different level. And it seems like they're very much, and maybe it's because their, supplies are starting to go out of date. I don't know, but they're trying. It seems like they want something drastic.
Food and nothing to do with it.
Yeah, exactly. There's an expiration date on all that shit. Which means, in order to not waste your fucking money on it, if you go overboard, you're going to be eating that shit even if there's not an apocalyptic situation. But it seems like those people, and I'm not saying that those people are the ones that are pushing for civil war. I think those people are the people that are pushing for anything. Anything. They just are waiting for that tragic moment. And I think they're doing it because when that moment happens, they're going to be able to look at their neighbors and go, see, who's fucking stupid now? Who's crazy now? I got food, you don't. But they're also into this idea of civil war. I think that they're into any kind of post-apocalyptic world situation that they think they're prepared for.
So my first question is, do you think all of the Christian nationalism,
which is
that
spiking,
is supporting all of this? What's that?
It's spiking hard.
Oh,
it's almost
hard.
It's almost as if the Christian nationalists and the anti-abortionists are definitively coming together to kind of swamp ass social media with their views. A huge uptick I'm seeing. And I don't know if that's just my algorithm or what. And I don't know why it would be my algorithm.
My question is all of their beliefs, they believe in hell, and whatnot. And
it's the whatnot that you got to look out for.
Do you think that perhaps there's a large majority of them that just want people to suffer? They want to bring hell on earth so that people that they just don't like can suffer. Because that's ultimately what's the word I'm looking for? A core belief in their religion that suffering brings you closer to God.
I think that's part of it. I do think that that's part of it. I don't think that that's all of it, though. I think, again, I'm going to go back to my extreme prepper point of view of the people who are extreme preppers tend to, it's not that they give a shit what the catastrophe is, as much as it is, I was right, you were wrong, you get to starve now, motherfucker, and I'm going to eat all of my MREs.
Well, I think because I'm in a couple of prepper groups on the Book of Faces, and there's a lot of chit chat that gets struck down by cooler heads, where somebody like, hey, I've got this. What's a good way to can or prep like milk or butter, or just have it for like rainy days? I grew up. Well, you and I grew up with mom canning.
Yeah, and again, but do you know why she canned?
Well, she grew up in the Depression.
Well, not just that. That's not the only reason. Because mom didn't can until they found out that I had several food allergies.
Oh yeah, okay. So that makes sense.
So what she did was she was doing it mainly because of she got back into it because she was trying to make sure that you and I didn't have a bunch of artificial bullshit in our food.
Mm-hmm.
So she was literally going farm to table and canning in between.
Well, there's a lot of vitriol online. I say that word a lot because it sounds cool. Vitriol.
I like it.
But there are people in the group that are like, well, I've got a stockpile of weapons. I don't have a whole lot of food saved up, but I have a stockpile of weapons because I'm coming to take your stuff.
Yeah. No, I'm of that view. Like if I had to pick a prepper point of view, I'm going to have the guns and the ammo.
Well,
because you know what? I don't have room or the desire to rotate a bunch of bullshit in a constant. I mean, that's a full fucking time job if you're doing it like hardcore. Like they got to rotate that shit out. It's a big investment.
It's really not that hard. I do that in the RV here, with our very, very limited space. But it just made me chuckle because I'm like, how much ammo can you literally have?
Oh,
eventually you're going to run out.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised. And I get their mentality. So again, this is not something that I'm like, I'm not criticizing them for. I get it. I understand it. I don't think that that's necessarily going to work on either side. I think that, you almost have to go back to what Mike Tyson said, which I think is probably one of the most brilliant things to ever come out, which is everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yes.
And that's the thing is no matter how much you plan, you don't know what the reality is going to be at that moment. You know what I mean? And again, going back to this idea of a civil war, all of the things that people are saying that they want out of it, the period of time that it'll take and the level of destruction and the level of just horrific violence that would happen. Because again, this is not going to be a North versus South. It's not going to be like we can divide this country into quadrants like they were able to during the first Civil War. This is something that will be, guerrilla on the street, terrorist almost in its form and fashion. I could see, the way it starts is a lot of capitals being targeted by different militias working in unison and working together, then creating a false narrative of who was behind it so that they can get everyone onto, their side, so to speak. And then it comes out that it wasn't them or that it wasn't who they said it was. And then that's when the confusion starts. You know what I mean? But I definitely would see it like this would be a street by street thing. I don't think it would be like, battlefield.
There are some of us like me that don't live on streets. I would love to see SEAL Team Mix 6 try to make it up here into the mountains.
See, again,
especially in the winter.
Yeah.
Would love to watch that.
I don't.
But we're planning on property. Me personally, I keep saying I want some chickens and a couple of cows, some mini cows. The whole leave me alone. I've put myself in a position where I've got a couple of close friends now that are very adept and know how to build solar systems. So I'm always going to have electricity when everything is said and done. I know a couple of people that built solar energy systems for their houses. And
I don't know that, easy. Yeah, but I don't know that any of that really matters. Again, this is my point.
Well, I'm saying like getting power shut down. I'm still going to have power.
Power will be one of the first things they attack.
Well, yeah, that's why you have a self-sufficient system. And I had gone as far as thinking, a fireplace would be nice, but they'll be able to see the smoke. But electricity, you can't see from far away.
Yeah. But
and there are ways to heat a home with electricity, mini splits.
Well, again, all that's well and good, but why should we be there?
I'm also 200 miles from the border. And we've got Jeeps. We're not built for speed, but we're built to crawl over whatever you throw at us.
Okay, but again, none of that should be the conversation.
No.
The conversation should be
my personality. I'm always thinking of a plan B, plan C to get out.
I get that. And again, we've spoken off mic about people we know that are literally making plans to try to figure out, okay, well, if this happens, what's our escape plan? How are we going to get out of the country? How are we, you know what I mean? I guess my point through this, or my concern and my question is,
yeah,
why are we is this something that is inevitably marching forward, that we, no matter how big the conversation is, no matter how public the conversation is, whether it's just our little podcast or it's, a national all TV channels president talking conversation, why aren't we having the conversation to go, wait a minute, we don't have to continue down this path. You know what I mean? This isn't like
Well, see, that's the disconnect, though, is because one side generally doesn't want to have that conversation because they don't think it's needed, whereas one side is like, oh, it's coming. We're coming. Doesn't matter what you do, we're coming. Why?
Yeah, because honestly, I get it. Okay? You don't like abortion. Don't get one. You don't like immigrants. Don't live on a border state. There's nowhere you're going to go in the country that doesn't have fucking immigrants.
Say, don't get an immigrant.
Yeah, don't get an immigrant. Just because there's a Mexican on the side of the road doesn't mean you have to pick him up and take him home. And
hey, you'd be much better if you did, though. I mean,
oh God, yeah, what great people too.
They are, and that's my point. Is coming from Texas, you see a lot of Latino. I don't know what they want to be called, other than person.
Right.
They want to be called a person, but it's the idea that anything is different is scary.
Well, it's the other. Again,
you know what?
It's the other.
Well, yeah, the other.
But look, there's nowhere in this country you can go.
You know what I would do if I was Mexican? I told Marcos,
and knowing you take a nap.
Well, yes, but what I would do to get my point across is stop making tacos. Stop making Mexican food. Don't let any gringo buy it. See how quickly they go crazy.
Well, I mean, there was like that. I think there was a movie called A Day Without Mexicans, and it showed.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, I think that was the name of it. I don't know that I even saw the whole thing, but I saw clips of it, and like people don't realize there's even if you let's not talk about just Mexico and Mexicans coming into the country, because that's really not really what the issue is. The issue is South Americans. It's more coming from South America and through Mexico. That's more the issue.
Yes. But they all get lumped together.
They do.
That's the sad part. And
because they're all basically Spanish speaking. Correct. So, but there's nowhere you're going to go in this country. Well, let me even take, if you like to eat out at a restaurant, there's not a restaurant in this country that you're going to go to and not find somebody who maybe didn't come here, like the amount of impact that they have, all these illegals, making our country better or more convenient. And again, it may not even be an issue. If AI takes off in the next 3 to 5 years, will those jobs even be something available for people who are willing to take low-paying, shitty jobs? Like, the immigration problem might end up being solved not by Congress, but by Silicon Valley.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, because once there's no benefit financially for them to come here, then it's just, I need to go to America because I am afraid to live where I live. So then that drops a lot of that influx, I would think. So, like, again, these are things that if given time and given an honest look, and not viewed from, well, that'll help the Dems or that'll help the Republicans, The idea that Trump was telling people, in Congress, that bill, you need to vote against it. It should be dead on arrival because I'm not going to give Biden a win. All that tells me is that it really got under his craw that Biden got the infrastructure win because he didn't.
Yeah.
So what? Then when you're in office, do you think... So again, this is, you got Republicans in the House blocking something that is in the benefit of the United States and is what they're bitching about. So like, if you can't give them a solution that you hashed out with them, you negotiated with them, and then they go, yeah, no, we don't want that. Well, where are we as a fucking country at that point? When it literally becomes whoever's in power, if you're not on my team, I'm voting against everything you bring to the table. And if you have that power in just one of the houses, whether it's the Senate or the House of Representatives, to be able to block any progress for 2 to 4 years, that's not American.
Well,
that's not helping.
The immigration bill that is the problem right now. Who turned it down?
Republicans.
Who wrote it?
Republicans and Democrats.
It was actually introduced by 2 Republicans.
It was introduced by them, but it was negotiated with the White House.
Correct. Yes. But it's the idea that clearly it is a tactic to, well, here's a good bill. Why don't we pass this? We wrote this. We had a direct handprint on this bill. We're going to introduce this. We're not going to vote for this.
Didn't they do that before, though?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I don't know who brought the previous bill for immigration.
You know what that reminds me of? Let's vote out McCarthy. Oh, the Democrats didn't do anything to save McCarthy.
Exactly. Yeah. So the Republicans start the fire. The Democrats are, as of late at least, showing up with buckets of water. And the Republicans are like, no, we don't want your water. It's Democrat water.
No. They're kicking the buckets of water out of the Democrats' hands. Look what the Democrats are letting this burn.
Exactly. See, that's the problem. And that's, to me, I'm sorry. Like, again, I'm not somebody who's trying to promote a political view. But I do believe that you need 2 healthy parties because both parties have wings that are crazy. And you need to have 2 healthy parties to keep that kind of insanity. But that's where we're at now, is like the Republican Party, in my opinion, is kind of lost. They've lost their way. Not from anything other than republicanism and conservatism. I'm not talking about anything to do with Democrats or any other political issue. I'm simply saying the Republican Party in and of itself is broken and badly broken.
I want to start a third party. And I'm going to call it the Vulcan Party.
The Vulcan Party?
Which is ruled purely by logic.
Well, again, that it may end up being AI. You know what I mean? Like, at this point, we might get to, if this continues and continues to get worse, wouldn't President AI and Congress and Senate AI and Supreme Court AI, wouldn't that almost be better? Because then it's like, this isn't it's terrifying to even think of that, to be honest with you. But there is this aspect of, if you remove emotion, you remove religion, you remove political affiliation, and you're simply forced with logic based on data. And if the data is good, the decision will be good. It may not be
Yes.
what you like. It may not be what you want, but it will have a short and long-term benefit. I think we've gotten to the point, and I think, honestly, in many ways, the lockdown and COVID brought us to this. We're no longer thinking logically. We're no longer going, wait a minute, I'm not going to put the party first or the candidate first. I want to put the country first. I'm not
They
even
don't
gonna,
do that.
No, they don't do that. Honestly, what the fuck? What in the living fuck? I mean, it's so blatantly obvious. How can you go on whatever news show you go on and give whatever little bullshit clip answers you're going to give and say, yeah, we have a solution, but we don't like it. We agreed to it. We negotiated it, but now we've decided, fuck that.
You know what part of the issue is?
That they don't negotiate in good faith?
Not just that. There's a deeper rooted issue. And I hate to beat a dead horse, but you saw a shitbag like DeSantis running for president, ridiculing Trump, saying Trump is everything that is wrong with the party. And I don't like DeSantis. He's a shitbag. To prove my point is the duality of the Republican Party. The people that are like, not Trump. This guy is horrible. But now I'm going to dip out of the presidential race. And what did he do? He kissed the ring of Trump.
Oh, yeah, right away.
The day he quit.
The day. I don't even think an hour had passed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And again, this is the problem.
Yes.
This is the problem. In the Republican Party, and when I say the Republican Party, I mean all of the elected officials. Okay? Senate. Look, I'm going to go from dog catcher all the way up to, senators. Okay? I do believe most of them know Trump is not good.
Look at the dude from Illinois, I think it was. Former military, was on the January 6th committee.
Oh,
originally.
Yeah. Kinzinger.
Yes, Kinzinger. I thought that was his name.
Yeah, Adam.
And
I'd love to talk to Adam King. I would honestly love to talk to him.
I don't agree with every stance that he takes, and that's okay. But I feel bad for him because he was a stand-up guy. But he came out was like, Trump is a shitbag. And this is why. He had reasons. And the moment he did that, he dipped out because they were threatening his family.
Oh, I know.
Threatening the life of his children.
That's my point, though, is you can't even be a Republican that calls out bad Republican politics without having to worry about your family, without having to worry about your life. You know what I mean? Like the two people I'd love to talk to, totally disagree with them on politics, like their political views, okay? But 100% would vote for them after seeing their character. Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger. I would 100%. And mind you, I don't like even the way saying Cheney feels as it comes off my mouth. You know what I mean? Like I don't.
Darth Vader.
But I love that woman for having the courage of her convictions, and I would vote for her. You know what I mean? I don't like Cheney mainly because of her father, and so it's not fair to dislike her. You know what I mean?
I hear you. I'm in the same boat.
I thought Dick Cheney was sketchy at best. I think he had some ulterior motives going. But show me a politician that lasts as long in D.C. in Washington as he did that doesn't have ulterior motives. I mean, the same could be said for Nancy Pelosi. Same could be said for Chuck Schumer.
There's a certain level of swag that he walked with that you had to respect, though. I mean, I'm not getting in trouble for this, but I shot a dude in the face.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he did
That dude apologized to me.
That was the thing, is the guy apologized to him. I'm sorry, Mr. Vice President. I shouldn't have poked my head up when I did.
I heard you whistle.
Can you?
I just didn't realize it was for the quail.
Could you get my nose out of your dog's mouth? I'd like to go to the hospital now. So it just, like I said, I think that this furry fantasy world of civil war that these guys are living in, I don't think that they're really thinking about how it would feel to get shot or to see your best friend or your brother get shot.
I do hear from people on the right when the talk of civil war comes out, oh, well, the left is saying it too. The next words always out of my mouth are always, who? Give me a name. Who? One name. That's openly talking about civil war, wanting a civil war on the left.
Well, see, and that's the thing, is there's a difference. There's a difference between talking about it and talking about it in a way that is like you want it. You know what I mean? I don't want it, but I'm so fucking tired of hearing about it. I'm like, go on, just do your thing. Same with secession. I think that'd be great. Go ahead, secede. Good luck. Enjoy. Don't come knocking. Okay? You're persona non grata now. All right? But that's your choice. So whether it's Texas or fucking any other state that wants to secede, go on, do it. And then you can elect Trump to be your president of whatever state or, what a country you call it. Or whoever you want. DeSantis, whatever. You can try that experiment. Have at it.
Mm-hmm.
But when
I totally get that. It comes to a point where you are just so sick or tired of hearing about it.
It's
like, quit threatening it. Shit or get off the pot.
That's where I'm at. And again, I don't want to see it. I don't
either.
I think it would be fucking horrible. But shut up or get up. You know what I mean? At this point,
something else that I don't think people are talking about enough, whether it be a civil war or secession, like Texas seceding from the Union. How they always say they're going to be just fine. They would thrive even. And how many companies would pull out of Texas?
Oh, I think a lot.
A lot.
I do. I think a lot. I think and again, I get it. If that's the experiment that you want to run and you think you can get the entire or the majority of the population of your state behind you on that, and then you go through the process and you go ahead. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even think it's something that should be like, at this point, like if I were the president, I'd be like, you know what? You're right. We're better off without you. We're coming to grab our shit. And then you guys are on your own. And sorry.
There's a part of me that has become all right, you know what? We're going to fix this problem one way. Everybody who feels they are conservative and on the right, move south. Everybody. Push you south. You wanted to win the Civil War the first time. Take the South. Texas, Mississippi, Alabama. You can have Florida.
Oh, God, please.
Georgia. Yeah, you can take Georgia too. Stay in the South. Everybody that's progressive and
I'll give you the Carolinas. I'll give you the Carolinas.
Move north. Just move north. We'll create this little divider line. But see how long it takes them to build a wall between the North and the South.
No. See how long it takes them to realize that they wasted their money building that wall. And now they can't afford to take care of themselves. What people don't seem to want to admit is that the idea of trickle down doesn't work. Like, you don't have to be anti-Republican. You don't have to be anti-Reagan. You don't have to be anti anything. Trickle down doesn't work. It just doesn't. And the reason we know it doesn't is because the most federal funds for keeping states afloat are coming out of Washington and going to a lot of those southern states. Kentucky even. You know what I mean? Like, they're getting back more than they're putting in the pot. And who's putting the most in the pot? New York, California, I mean, Oregon. I mean, like you can go right all the way across. Those are the states that are actually keeping you afloat. And I get it. You don't like the fact that gay people can get married, women have control over their bodies, abortion should or was and still should be legal. I get that you think that we're not a Christian country the way we should be, but we never were supposed to be a Christian country. I get that you're afraid. I get all of these arguments. You're terrified of a black person living next to you in your neighborhood, or a brown person living on the other side of you, or a Muslim. Let me tell you something. I don't fucking care. You shouldn't care.
I want to bring up a state called Mississippi. Now, Mississippi.
Now, I've heard of this state you're referring to.
Mississippi, 1 in 3 is on public assistance. 1 in 3. They're listed as number, I think, 49 in education. 50 being Alabama, which is right next door.
Mm-hmm.
But I know, I don't know the history of Alabama off the top of my head, but I do for the state of Mississippi. Like I said, 1 in 3 is on public assistance. The levels of poverty are extraordinary.
They're through the roof.
Extraordinary. I've been to Mississippi.
So have I. I got lost in Mississippi. That was a bad thing. Yeah, like real bad. Like back road lost.
A very religious state. One, as I said, number 49 in education. You know what Mississippi also has?
Swamp
a history of just voting red. They haven't voted outside of red longer than I've been alive.
And again, this is my point. Like, there is some disconnect. You know what I mean? Like, there's just some disconnect of this working or not working in my benefit. And here's the funny thing:
what's the capital of Mississippi?
Isn't it? Oh shit! What is it?
Exactly. Nobody knows because it doesn't matter.
Is it Tupelo? No, seriously. Now you fucked me up.
Capital. Well, it's the point that nobody gives a shit about Mississippi. I don't think they've produced anything of worth since
Jackson.
Yeah, I don't think they've produced anything of worth since probably Elvis.
Well, I mean, that's kind of a harsh. I mean, like a lot of people make fun of Alabama, but I mean, at the end of the day, Alabama is where all the space rockets are made. You know what I mean? So I'm sure that there's something in Mississippi. And I'll tell you, to be honest with you, my time in Mississippi, it wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst. I met some nice people, but I also met a lot of people that were, I tell you, all right. So the way this worked out was, I was going through Mississippi, headed to a job, and made a wrong turn, and ended up going through some of, like it was heartbreaking to see the conditions in which these people were living in. It was literally heartbreaking, Saw the cotton fields.
Have you been to Arkansas?
Yes.
When was the last time you've been to Arkansas?
That's been at least 20 years.
I was just there for about a year. And the levels of for a lack of better term, poverty.
Yeah, it's just
That
horrible.
we would see. I would pass by houses that didn't have complete roofs. They had
Right.
caved in, they had tarps on them.
Right.
Um, and I'm not even talking mobile homes.
No, these were like regular
These
houses.
were regular
Yeah.
houses.
I saw a similar
Left and right.
Yeah.
We would pass these things, and it was like, how do really?
Well, so
And it was just heartbreaking. And the drug problem there
huge.
is off the chain.
Well, what else do you have? You know what I mean? Like, again, this is one of those things where they don't seem to understand on the Republican side. They don't seem to understand when it gets down to the people who are voting for them, their constituents, whether that's Mississippi, Alabama. I mean, Tommy Tuberville, I mean, he was a fucking football coach, for Christ's sake. He has no business being in politics. But
Jim Jordan.
Jim Jordan, again, you know what I mean? Like, no business in politics. And what I guess what breaks my heart is the people keep voting for these people who aren't doing anything for them. Jim Jordan,
I don't understand
Jim
how
Jordan
Jim
has never
Jordan got elected, because he was at the center of the Ohio State controversy.
Right, but he
with,
was
the
also
abuse.
Part of that Tea Party takeover. You know what I mean? So again, this is the thing is it's not about ideas anymore. It's about cult of personality. Joe Biden has no personality, but he's got ideas.
You ever watch Bill Maher?
Occasionally.
I just watched an episode where he had Adam Schiff on, and he was a guest for the whole show. And Adam Schiff discussed a meme that was being passed around that pointed out how his sister, Adam Schiff, and Democrats are getting funding from George Soros, the perennial boogeyman.
Yeah.
And how Adam Schiff's sister married the son of George Soros. And Adam Schiff, he discussed how he called his brother upon seeing this meme and was very, very upset because, one, they were upset because they weren't getting any money from George Soros, and this is news to them. But that took a backseat to the fact that he had to inform his brother that apparently they had a sister.
God damn it. You got a sister now. See, and that's, again, that goes to it. That goes right to it. It doesn't matter if it's true. It doesn't, as long as it gets passed, out online and through social media, then it becomes a narrative. And it doesn't even have to have any reality to it whatsoever. And it's so frustrating that we're living our political lives and our representatives are living their political lives on social media. You go on Twitter or X or whatever the fuck you want to call it now. I find it difficult to believe that these representatives on both sides have that kind of time to be tweeting all the time. They're spending more time tweeting than they are doing anything. There's not a day go by that Marjorie Taylor Greene and Bobo and Jim Jordan and the Republican committee and it goes the same for fucking Democrats, AOC all the way through, right? It's both sides. If they spent the time that they spend trying to figure out how to craft that perfect little tweet, that important little piece of social media that they need to put out there, if they actually spent that time working on how to legislate, we may not be talking about civil war. You know what I mean? I get it. Again, I get it. I get it from the point of view of the people who are calling from it even. Their lives are not what they should be.
I said this in the last time we talked, but we need more representatives such as Jasmine.
Yeah, she was a
the
firecracker.
lady from Texas.
She's a firecracker.
The representative from California. I don't remember her name. I think that's half the problem. But watching them, it makes me feel better that there are people representing us that are admirable. And instead of reducing themselves to nana nana boo boo, you're a poopy head, they bring the fire. And by fire, I mean facts.
You're talking Katie Porter is the one out of
Katie
California.
Porter.
And again, part of the reason why Katie Porter.
Why can't I remember her name?
You know what? I don't know. I don't know. And the funny thing is as soon as you say I can't remember her name, then I draw a blank. But I mean, we're coming up on almost 2 hours here, so let's put a pin in it. I guess
made my dog jump.
I guess my question is to you.
Yes. That's the answer before you ask.
Great. Perfect. A couple things. One, all right, so first off, let me ask you this. If AI were implemented fully for government and the entire judicial system, do you think it would be better than what we've got now?
Yes, I do.
Do you think that would be sustainable, though?
I do. Because AI is programmable to save human life. It'll do whatever the parameters that you program it to do.
Yeah, but
I'm not so worried about the rise of the machines like Terminator, because that was dreamed up by a human. There are times where I've gone into ChatGPT and was like, you know what, I'm going to ask a sensitive question. What kind of answer is it going to give me? And before it even gives an answer, it says a lot of time and consideration needs to go into this answer, like what you are looking for. Every single time, a lot of time and consideration needs to be
and that's
needs
good
to be had on the subject. That is something that you don't see on either side talking about. Time and
you know why? You know why? Because everyone feels like they have to answer the question instead of saying, I don't know. I don't know enough about this. You know what I mean? I have no problem saying that. I have zero problem admitting ignorance on a topic. I don't know why people feel like they have to have an answer. But typically when they have an answer, but they don't have the knowledge, they tend to say what they think, whether it's the party line, you know what I mean? Whatever they identify with, not even being a politician, just being a person. If they identify as liberal, they're going to give you what they think the liberal answer is, without any fucking knowledge of the circumstance. And the same goes for Republicans. They'll do the same thing too. But I guess I look at all these things, and it's easy to think that AI is going to be the answer to everything, including, immigration. But I do think that there's going to be some sort of a fallout that we're not prepared for or we're not thinking about. And that could be good or bad. But if AI starts taking over low-paying jobs, forget the high-paying jobs that we know it's going to take over, lawyers, surgeons, researchers, so on and so forth. The idea of creating between robotics and AI, the opportunity for let's say a fast food restaurant to have no human employees, really, as far as like general workers, Well, now you can run that restaurant 24/7. Your labor costs are nothing. And every business will tell you that their number one expense is labor costs. So once you start wiping out those labor costs, it won't really matter how much those AI robots cost, because you can run them 24/7.
Yeah.
So as long as they have a charge, as long as their battery life is up and they haven't experienced any mechanical problems, you've got, whether that's in a warehouse, whether that's landscaping, whether that's, you know what I mean? Like, the list goes on and on. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Field workers, crop workers. Again, it just goes on and on. Well, part of the reason why these people are coming is twofold. One, they're afraid of where they live, or the drug situation's gotten too bad, or the gang situation, or the cartel, or whatever, the political environment, you name it. That's one reason they leave. The other reason they leave is because they can make more money even doing that shitty job than they can make doing a respectable job, quote unquote, in their home country.
Yes.
When we get to the point where we can replace the politicians with AI, then what's the argument? The argument then becomes they don't like the policy, even though it's the most logical policy, and they don't like it because, you know what, fuck the machine. So I don't see, again, in the short term, I don't see any peaceful solutions coming down the pipe. I only hope that people in general have enough sense to realize that violence is not going to solve their problem. It's just not. It's not. You could have a civil war. That's not going to stop fucking immigrants coming across the border. In fact, if anything, it's going to increase, because they won't be able to have as many people focused on keeping the border closed. No matter how big the wall, no matter how many troops, no matter how many border agents, no matter how many anything, it won't matter, because you're going to have a fucking civil war going.
What happens if we have a civil war and the conservatives in the South have to turn to immigrants coming in and be like, here's a weapon, go fight for our side?
It wouldn't surprise me.
How long before that starts to happen?
Like, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A, it wouldn't surprise me. And B, I would think at some point it would become a necessity. But again, this is one of those things where I like this is the shit that keeps me up at night. You know what I mean? This is the stuff that when I think about it, I go, God, it's this march forward that we all know is the wrong direction, but it just keeps going further and further and further. And I guess part of my view is, at some point, we're all going to have to come together and realize, so like, there's no war that's been won by shooting. You know, like, wars aren't won. They're negotiated out.
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't win a war necessarily on the battlefield. You really win the war in the negotiation to end the war. You know, and that's, again, because if you look at what happened after after the Civil War, how long did it take? How much time? And that they didn't have, multimedia corporations pitching narratives and trying to, they didn't have the ability to have social media and utilize it to kind of coalesce the country. But I think actually in the end, that will make it take longer for people to come to the realization that they were wrong or that their side lost. And it doesn't matter which side wins. But I'll tell you, if it becomes a situation where the Republican side wins, that's something that people should be very concerned about. Not because, again, this isn't picking sides. It's just where the Republican Party is today. If you're saying you're a patriot, but you're also saying that you want it to be a Christian nation, well, you're no longer a patriot.
Right.
You're a Christian nationalist. That's a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And when when you think about it in terms of like A Handmaid's Tale, I don't know if you ever saw that, but
I have not.
Okay, so essentially, basically, it's this idea that there's been a division in the United States, and there's this group that's very, very religious, and essentially,
so it's a historical drama.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, even the new movie that's coming out in April, I think it is, about Civil War in 2024 or whatever. I don't even know the name of it, but it's the guy, I think, that did Ex Machina. I believe is the director of this. And I saw part of the trailer, and this guy goes into a store, and he says to the lady, he goes, "You seem pretty laid back in here. You do know there's a civil war going on that's pretty brutal right outside." And the lady goes, "Yeah, we just try to stay out of it because, we see what's going on in the news, so we're just trying to stay neutral." There will be that too. There will be people that just don't want to take sides. But the chilling part was there's a guy that's, kind of paramilitary, and he's got the family, and he's got guns pointed at him, and he goes, the father's like, "I'm an American." And the guy goes, "What kind of an American?" And he's got the gun pointed at him. And that to me was chilling, because that's what it would be. So let's say Republicans get their way and they win. I don't know what that means for this country. And let's say the Democrats win. I don't know what that means for this country, because without a healthy two-party system, it seems like the country's fucked no matter what. Now, the question becomes, in my mind, how long on the field will these guys be before they go, "You know what, timeout, I need to get me a Big Mac"? Because that's the reality of the fucking thing. It's like this weird, twisted, dystopian thing where it's like you're going to be on a battlefield, and that battlefield might be Central Park, right?
Yeah.
But you're able to hop in your vehicle, or in your pickup truck or your Jeep, and drive away from it because, you know what, I'm hungry, and go through a drive-through.
I woke up today and I'm still... I'll be right back. I got to run to Starbucks.
Yeah. Like, how can we take it seriously, but how can we not take it seriously? So, where does it end? Where does it go?
The Starbucks only offers product to individuals that have a rebel flag on their shirt.
Well, again, I mean, is that something that seems outrageous to you? Like, we're seeing the level of stupidity just in what people write online. And that's an insight. Even if they're trolling, you kind of get a little bit of insight into where they're coming from. And at the end of it, it seems like they don't have an idea. Like, what happens? Civil war happens. Your side wins. Then what? What do you see happening that's going to make your life so much better? Because I don't see anything going to happen. Even if it's all glorious for you, you still have to live with the fact that you killed fellow Americans. You still have to live with the fact that your brother or your family member died. You still have to, deal with what it was that you did in that war. And most importantly, what are you getting out of it? Okay? So let's say it turns into, because I could totally see Trump trying to pull a revolution type thing, a civil war type thing. I could totally see him doing that if he loses.
Well, we're already going through that.
We are going through that, but I mean beyond that, like literally
It'll be ramped up.
Like ramped up, like he's no longer hiding behind the, well, I didn't tell them that, they should enter the Capitol. I didn't say that, that wasn't an insurrection. I had nothing to do with that. Like backing away from his own bullshit and just coming out and saying, yeah, let's do this. And he wants to be the president of the southern states. Okay. What do these people think they're going to get from him? They're going to get what?
No, I don't know how to answer that because
lower taxes.
Well, lower taxes if you have the money.
But if you don't have the money, you're not getting lower taxes. You're not going to. You think he's like, what is it? What do you get? Okay, great. You got your fucking border wall. And if they're still streaming in, if they're cutting holes in it, if they're tunneling under it, I mean, like, what did you get? What did you get for what you had to put in? If that's what happens, if that's the direction it goes, and again, I don't like to leave things on a bummer note, but I just don't see the Gravy Seals getting their due if they win. I see them finding out that they fucked around in the wrong way.
I see people in the future going out to once again work their land. Let me go plant my crops.
You'll have no choice.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying everyday normal shit. And crap, here's another body. Dude died of a heart attack eating his McNuggets, trying to huff his weaponry across my field.
That I can see.
Damn it.
And
let me drag this out of here.
I guess with that, we should wrap it up. Let's hope that there's no civil war. Peace out.
Peace and chicken grease.